8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. And good evening. If you're like me and you're tired of receiving a whole ton of bump through your mail about the San Francisco elections coming up, you're probably looking for a solution that will help you work your way through this mess and miasma of misinformation by the candidates. So I'm very lucky to have with me in the studio tonight Jesse Sanford and Murray Edelman, who will hopefully will get us through this mess. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, Stephen.
Thank you. So you've come up with a site called votesf.com.
Right.
What do you hope to achieve by this site?
Well, votesf.com is where you can find out about the election with the help of your Facebook friends. So if all this kind of thing is confusing, if you're not sure whether David Chu is the job candidate or John Avalos, you can take a look at our website and you can see what your friends think.
So do you actually need to be on Facebook to use this site?
Well, the people who are contributing to our voter guide do need to have Facebook accounts, yes. So if you'd like to vote for a candidate, that's true. But all the comments are available to everybody to read.
I see. So how would I actually get on this site? What would I need to do? Where would I need to type?
Well, all you have to do is type votesf.com into your browser. It helps to have a recent browser.
We're still working through a lot of the issues. It's a lot of the struggle is, and the reason why a lot of these things cost a lot of money is there's a lot of different browsers. There's a lot of different ways people use their computers, their browsers, and so that's a lot of the challenge in what we're doing. And that's mainly Jesse's job, and it's a big one. It's really big. It's not mine.
How many people have you got on the site so far?
Well, so we've had about 2,400 unique visitors in the 2 weeks that the site has been up, and about slightly over 200 of those people have expressed an opinion.
Well, I've actually gone on the site myself. I am a Facebook user, I will admit it. Well, actually, this forces me to ask another question. All right, what about the legions of people who aren't Facebook? Are you actually excluding them? I mean, why Facebook in particular?
Well, we had the basic concept is to use from your friends, vote with the help of your friends. Facebook gives us a preset network already that people are already connected to. We tried a version of this earlier, and people were not spending the time to connect with their friends to do it. So it gives us that advantage. Also, we have a low budget, and we had to draw a line somewhere, and it just made sense to do it this way.
You're mentioning budget, you're mentioning money. So is this a means of getting money out of politics? Is that what you hope to achieve by this?
Well, that's the dream. Yeah, that's definitely what we want to do.
So I think arguably the issue of money in politics is the signature issue of 2011. We have people occupying Wall Street, we have people occupying San Francisco and dozens of other cities, and really if there's one unifying theme of this movement, it's that enough is enough about the influence of money in politics. So when we look at electoral politics, we see that oftentimes the deepest pockets buy the most expensive campaign ads, by media framing and so forth, and insofar as we're dependent on those mass media broadcasts in order to find out how to vote, we're not doing a good job of holding our politicians accountable. If we could decentralize that flow of information, then we might actually be able to make that campaign cash useless.
So in other words, it doesn't come down to a candidate trying to get enough money to buy a TV ad, which most of us aren't going to watch anyway.
Right.
It's a question of listening to our friends and finding out what it is that our friends are saying and then making our decisions.
Right. Stephen, one of the parts of this that I find people don't quite get is not only can you see the effect of money in a campaign, but money is a real key part of even running for office. Mm-hmm. A candidate doesn't get noticed unless they have money. Money is really key. It's not always the most money wins, but unless you have donors lined up, unless you have something lined up, you're not even taken seriously in the press. And so that stops it right there. So there's a lot of people, a lot of supervisors, a lot of candidates you don't hear much about because they don't have it.
So effectively, this helps give a forum to those candidates who wouldn't necessarily have a voice.
Right, and it would, well, hopefully, we would hope the ones with the best ideas, the best experience, would win rather than the ones with the most money. There's a lot of people that don't run for office just because of the cost. You know, the higher the office, the more it's a full-time job. You really see it big time in president. I mean, they spend the whole year or two before the whole race is to line up the money.
So, what kind of response have you been getting from the candidates? I mean, are they? Have you managed to contact them? Have they been interested in this site, or is this being just something that they're too busy trying to raise money for to really have that much attention of?
You know, several of the candidates have been very enthusiastic about the site and have let their followers know about it and asked people to go and vote for them. Unsurprisingly, they're the ones who are doing best. So we certainly encourage the rest of the candidates to do the same.
Okay, on that note, let's take a look at the site itself. I have it pulled up on the computer. This is the votesf.com front page. Right, so take me through here. At the moment it says log in with Facebook or browse without signing up. So what are the differences? Suppose I don't want to log in with Facebook. What can I do and what can't I do?
Well, you're welcome to read everybody else's opinions, but unfortunately at this point you can't vote and you can't add to the voter guide by expressing what you know about the election. More than that, though, the main point of the tool is to organize your friends and to learn to vote from your friends. So if you're somebody who has an opinion on the election, this is a great place to register it so that you can really get the word out to more of your social network.
So, and once you log in, then we know who your friends are. If you don't log in, we can't do anything or point out your friends to you.
Okay, so back to the screen here, and so I feel a little bit like Julia Child here because I have logged in already. I have the cake already prepared in the oven, and here's the front page. And we have John Avalos at the top here. What does that actually mean? I mean, he's got 36 people approving him and 20 people disapproving. What does that actually mean?
Well, it means that those many people actually approved and checked the thing. It's not a poll, it's not any evidence that he's winning in the city. It's just that people coming to the site approve of him the most.
I see. Now, Murray, you've actually got quite an experience in polling, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah,
Tell me more a little bit about that.
Well, I spent a good bit of my experience putting down internet polls, so it's really important to me that people just know what that is. But the site itself came from a lot of my experience with polling because there's a lot of things, a lot of frustration I had over the years watching what the knowledge people bring when they vote. And it's a pretty low level of knowledge. Sometimes they don't know a candidate has been senator for a while. They've mix up a candidate and think it's the son or the father rather than the son. There's a lot of misinformation. A lot of people say they're going to vote, but they don't vote.
Yeah, I see a lot of people, especially in my community, clip out the BAR, or if they're lucky, I suppose, they get Bay Guardian and go, this is how I'm going to vote. They don't really think about the issues, and off they go into the polling booth, and that's they're going to vote pretty much on party lines, their party being what they read about in the BAR.
Those are people that have something like that. There's a lot of people that don't have a paper that fits what they believe. And so they're stuck making up their own minds. And it can be a pretty overwhelming job. And that's one reason a lot of people don't vote. It's just a lot of work. You know, if you're going to take voting seriously, it takes a good bit of work.
It does, and that's one reason why you have this site up, I assume. I do notice you don't have the issues, all those propositions going up. You're stuck to the election, the candidates in the three major races, which is mayor, district attorney, and sheriff. What prompted you to make that decision to just stick with those three cases?
Jesse, you want to?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to really focus on the core function of the site. And the mayor's race is exponentially the most interest in the city at this point. And also, you have 16 candidates and you're expected to rank 3 of them. So from this enormous field, you know, if you don't mind, Stephen, I'd like to tell the story of one of our site users, a man named Andrew Sparrows, who moved to San Francisco from Atlanta in May. he'd like to vote, he's registered to vote in the city, but he's not really familiar with the ins and outs of what in some ways is a very crazy and complicated political town. Well, he's gotten all of these campaign flyers in the mail, he tells me. They don't make a whole lot of sense, but when he went to the site and he logged on, he found that 7 of his friends were already logged on, and he was able to see what they thought, and suddenly he felt a personal connection to some of the candidates, and he really felt a personal connection to voting, which is a wonderful thing for us.
So this is phenomenal. You actually now got a situation where somebody feels like he's part of the system or part of the machinery of voting, as opposed to just an outsider wondering what all this craziness is about.
Yeah, and most people feel like outsiders. I had a lot of talks with the people at Occupy SF, and there's a lot of feeling like that. They're just, the voting doesn't make any sense at all. There's no point in it.
Do you think this site could resonate with people at Occupy SF? I mean, my thought when I was thinking about this show, I was wondering, is this all a little bit white, ivory towerish, in a sense of here we are going off about an electoral system that the folks down at Justin Herman Plaza are like, this doesn't relate to me. So do you think this is a link?
Well, I really believe it can. I mean, there's steps and connections that have to be made, and that's really that's what we're doing now. This is an experiment, and we're trying to find the way to talk to people, to get people involved, to see how it works. I think it has a lot of potential because there's really deep alienation among a lot of people.
I think also it's important to remember that voting is a lot like death or taxes. It's one of those things that is basically unavoidable, because insofar as we share a single planet, we're always going to have to come up with some way of sharing our collective affairs and making decisions together. Ultimately, that will mean measuring everybody's opinion, and however you do that, that's what they call a voting system.
I see. Okay, well, let's take a look at one of these guys. This is Bevan Duffy, who I've actually had on the show. So here we go. Here's Mr. Duffy right here. And we are looking at his comments. If we scroll up, I can see at the top that I have a little orange box around me, and there is a little orange box around the person to my left. What does that mean?
So that means that that person is a friend of yours on Facebook, and it looks like you have one friend who's approved of Bevan Duffy in the system, and so you and your friend are shown in orange.
Now, in the middle, there is the ranked choice voting. How that is, I assume, different from the approval and disapproval system?
Yeah, you know, we decided to allow people to approve of as many candidates as they want, because it really gave them the freedom to express their opinions on these people, right? And that ultimately is what we're trying to do, is to find a good way of holding these politicians accountable. So if you just limit it to the ranked choice voting, you have exactly the same problems that we've had in past elections, in which, you know, maybe you like 4 or 5, but there isn't room for them on the ballot.
I understand. So I guess the question I have as well is, I actually put in my ranked choice voting. Can I change my vote at some point, or is it stuck in the system?
Absolutely. If you would like to just click on disapprove, you can change your vote from approve to disapprove there. Maybe Bevan Duffy's done something that's made you change your mind.
Maybe.
And if you want to change around your ranked choices, you can do that too.
I see. Well, so it sounds like there's a lot of flexibility built into this system.
Yeah, and we're learning to do more as we go. We get feedback, and we're iterating. We're trying a lot of different ways to make this work.
Okay. Well, I have actually opened the lines up. If you wish to call Jesse or Murray and ask him about votesf.com, the number is 861-6648. And we already have a call coming in. I'm actually going to have to put my glass. Let's see. Okay, caller, you are on the air, I hope.
Yes, hi, my name is Hunter.
Hi, Hunter. Can you hear? Can you hear me in the studio?
Yes.
Okay. What's your question?
Yeah, firstly, I just wanted to thank you guys very much for putting the site out there. I checked it out a couple days ago, and I felt the same way as you guys were expressing at the beginning of the show. There's not really a lot of non-partisan information that's easily accessible, and I know that my doorstep has been filled as well. So thank you guys very much. And my question is primarily kind of directed towards the future. I know this is a very local effort right now. I was kind of curious, you know, if this thing really succeeds in San Francisco, is there any plans to take it nationally, or other states that you guys might have your sights set on right now?
Very good question.
Well, we certainly have big plans. We just need to show it works here and get some funding to keep going with it. But there's a very full election calendar next year, a lot of local and state races, and a lot of ways to keep iterating our procedure and improving it, and hopefully maybe having something for November. But the local races are really good places. There's so many decisions that and so low turnouts in local elections that it's really needed here, really needed.
This has actually been described. I heard that they think there's not going to be a very high turnout for this particular election, and I see you're both nodding wisely here.
Well, it's this election in San Francisco, when it's really good, it's 30% of 18 people over 18. When it's not so good, it's around 21 or 22. And this one's looking a lot like 20, 21 or below. It's a pretty difficult election because there are so many candidates. And so you have the added thing about a lack of interest in local elections, and then the fact that it's such a big thing to get your hands around, it's easier to just let it go and put it off and then not show up.
How are you going to, I mean, I've been on this site now for about a couple of weeks since you first introduced me to it, Jesse, and I've noticed there's been some evolution on there. For example, at the very beginning, I'm going to switch back to the computer here, Ed Lee did not have, let's go to Mayor, find Mr. Lee here, he's got 2 people voting him as first choice, which is, well, that's probably not particularly representational of the city as a whole. How are you going to get the message out to broader people? Is it something you want to get out to broader people, or is it just for me and my progressive radical friends, woohoo, out there?
Well, absolutely. Vote SF is primarily a tool for you to vote with the help of your Facebook friends, and in a way to organize your Facebook friends. If you post a comment through to your wall, or if you send a message to friends that you have in San Francisco, then they will come, they'll see your opinion, or they'll put in your own, and if you come back before the election, you have the opportunity to see, oh, there's more of my friends here now. I can see how more of them vote, and this gives me a richer and more personal connection to the election as a whole. So, friends, right? That raises the issue of the very real dividing lines in communities in San Francisco. And while we would very much like to reach out to a lot of different communities, you know, we're 2 people with a little technology and a website, and we need all the help we can get, frankly, in getting the word out.
Also, the message of reducing money in politics is probably not his favorite message right now, you know, and I think it's inevitable that we're going to reach certain communities with our intention and with our message. And if we start getting support there, if it starts working, then all the candidates are going to have to participate, and they'll be very present. And then together, we'll actually do something about taking money out of politics.
One of the things that I'm a little concerned about as a user is with Facebook, I recognize I have next to no privacy. And I would worry, you know, when I click on an application like I did with this one, it wants to use things from my Facebook profile, and I'm thinking, are there ways that people could use this to track my voting preferences? What safeguards do you have set up to do that?
Well, I can speak to that. First of all, we do collect your Facebook friends so that we can link you up to them on the site. And we also have access to any information on Facebook that you've made public to the whole world already. Beyond that, the only extra piece of information that we actually ask for is your current city and your hometown. Okay. We don't even get your real email address. If we want to email you, we go through Facebook, and you can actually turn that off within Facebook.
So there's also, conversely, there's no way I could find out how you, Jesse, has voted on this particular site.
Well, unless you look at the site. I mean, if you put it publicly, yeah.
Oh yeah, all of the votes on the website are public, and they're public not just to your Facebook friends, but to the community as a whole. And we do that intentionally because part of our message is that in this day and age, if we treat voting as something which is solely private, and yet we all know that we can't really spend the time that it takes to hold those politicians accountable, there's no way that we'll actually be able to get the best results from our democracy. So that's very much intentional, and
Okay.
I would hope that people understand that.
Okay, because I'm having difficulty because when I was playing around with this site, I thought I could. I voted and I have a preference, and I'm wondering, is there a way that you can find out exactly who my first choice is and who my second choice is and who my third choice is? I sort of get the impression you can't. I know you can tell that I approve, for example. I'm going to put this back up again. Of Bevan or disapprove of Ed Lee or something like that. But I don't think there's a way on the site there you can actually see that Stephen Leader has voted for X, Y, and Z in that order. But I think, so that's the question I'm sort of really getting at, and I'm not sure if...
Yeah.
And if there is?
Well, actually, you raise an important issue, which is that that's something that I intend to do any minute now, such as when I get home from the studio and do some more work on the site.
So that will be available.
The way I was thinking of putting it together, and of course I would love feedback from you and from our viewers about what they think is the best way to do this. But I imagine that as you hover the mouse over the images on the site, over the pictures of the people who've approved or disapproved, if that person has put in their ranked choice votes, we'll show the ranked choice votes there. I'm also looking at doing a page where you just see your friends' ranked choice votes summarized just for the list of your friends. Kind of focus it a little bit more so you don't just have to go through the candidates.
So this completely opens up democracy in some ways, doesn't it?
In some ways, but it also we're asking people to be more open about it as well, because it's voting in our country is something you keep to yourself. It's very private, and you don't enjoy doing it.
Yeah. We've only got 10 seconds left. So the site is votesf.com, right? And thank you so much for being on the show. We'll see you next week on the program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. That was a good show.